Once upon a time, Mike Turpin and Beth Zender share a romance as sugary as sweet tea.
She was over the top, fun. It really resonated with him.
He looked up and saw her face and just said, wow, this girl is awesome.
But then, things get bitter, and Southern hospitality turns to Southern Gothic.
There were distinct footprints in the blood in the foyer.
I mean, he was like someone ready to get a knife and kill someone.
When you lose your child, it doesn't ever get any better.
It is the most heart-wrenching, nauseating feeling you can experience.
For this couple, the honeymoon is over. August 24th, 1985, Lexington, Kentucky. It's a magnificent day in horse country. The perfect day for a wedding. Today, 21-year-old Mike Turpin nervously awaits the woman of his dreams. The recent college graduate and former band fraternity president is a quiet, well-mannered, all-American boy, ready to take on a new life with his fiery fiancée, Beth Zender. Mike met the bubbly 19-year-old brunette at the University of Kentucky.
And they always say opposites attract. He was just so proud of her, like he had landed the catch.
The girls that he dated in high school were a little more on the conservative side. She was outgoing and fun and energetic.
This perpetual party girl always keeps things lively for Mike. And Mike keeps Beth grounded.
It's really common for people with opposite personalities to be attracted to each other because they provide for each other the thing that maybe they feel is missing in themselves. So maybe Beth wanted a stable, conservative introvert. Maybe Mike wanted to be a little more outgoing. And with their partner fulfilling that role for them, they felt complete.
He finally found someone, that he felt like would need him.
By the power vested in me by the state of Kentucky, I now pronounce you man and wife. You may now kiss your bride.
And with the exchange of rings and a promise, they're bonded together forever. Or so they think. Just 5 months later, Beth returns home from a girls' night out to a frightening scene in the apartment she shares with her new husband.
Immediately, she saw that there were things that looked like paint smears and realized that, oh my gosh, that's blood that's on the floor.
When she can't find Mike anywhere, she calls Lexington police.
There was enough blood to be of concern.
There's even a footprint in the blood. By the size, it appears to be a man's. Is it Mike's?
It'll be okay. We'll try to figure out what happened here, but in the meantime, I need you to step outside for a minute so we can begin the investigation.
There was not much disorder further in, nothing knocked over or anything that was overly alarming at that point. It all was contained right to that entry foyer.
Worried, Beth calls Mike's dad.
And she says, Don, Mike's missing. And they says, I just got home and there's blood everywhere.
What could possibly be happening?
When I got there, there was the crime scene tape all around the apartment.
This is my daughter-in-law. She called me on the phone.
Yeah, you clapped through.
So I walked over to the bottom of the steps and I could see drops of blood up and down the steps.
The police don't want anyone panicking, but no one knows where Mike is. And he's not the kind of guy to just run off.
It was just totally out of his nature. We just could not imagine what had happened.
The terror of knowing that you have a missing child, not knowing if they're alive or dead, That feeling of helplessness, knowing that you want to do something, but can't.
Detectives send samples to the lab to determine if it's Mike's blood in the foyer. It's an unexpected turn for such a sweet and responsible young man.
Mike was very, I don't want to say conservative, but he was very mild-mannered and kind of on the reserve side.
Girls seem to like him, but he's painfully shy.
He never asked a girl out. There was not one girl he dated that he actually asked out. And he said, "Mom, I just can't ask them. What if they say no?"
He longs for someone who needs him. Adopted as an infant, Beth Zender is exceptionally bright and outgoing. She excels academically without even trying. When she's accepted into the University of Kentucky, she joins the band's flag corps.
She was different than most girls on campus, certainly different than the girls in the band. She sizzled. She was beautiful. Her eyes had almost a fire inside of them. There was an excitement about her.
In August 1984, Mike's a senior. One day, he's signing up new band members when he spots the freshman flag girl.
He looked over, the first thing he saw was her legs, and he was standing, she has the most beautiful legs. He looked up and saw her face and just said, "Wow, this girl is awesome."
Sign here.
Right away, they connect.
They got each other's sense of humor, and there was an instant attraction.
That very night, they meet again at a band mixer. Shy Mike isn't going to do it, so Beth makes the first move.
Hi. How you doing?
We were there and party was going on around us, but for Beth and Mike, there was nothing going on around them. They were already kind of connecting.
And they want to connect a little more privately.
They walked across the street into the beautiful botanical gardens on the UK campus, and they stayed there quite some time.
A lot of us were going, "Where'd Mike go? Where'd Beth go?" The chatter started, where'd they go?
Neither one told anyone what happened that night, but they were pretty much inseparable after that walk into the gardens.
But they're separated now. Where could Mike be?
We called several friends to see if they had heard Mike. I called his employer, and he hadn't been into work that morning. Tried to just, in the back of our mind, think of what in the world could have happened to somebody that is as nice as Mike is.
Beth tells police she fears the worst. She says Mike isn't as reserved as everyone thinks. In fact, he has skeletons in his closet, and she fears one of them may have come back to haunt him. 5 months after her wedding, Lexington, Kentucky newlywed Beth Turpin tells police about coming home to find blood in the apartment she shares with her new husband, Mike.
She had gone out with friends to a popular after-hours club, and she did not want to drive home and spent the night with a friend. She had to go to work the next morning, so at about 6 o'clock in the morning, she came back to her home.
She finds the blood and a bloody footprint.
Mike?
But no husband. And then things get really strange. A shaken Beth begins telling police an unexpected story about her seemingly reserved husband, She says Mike has a secret past.
She informed me that several years before that Mike, while working at a restaurant, had actually been dealing drugs. He was operating under the street name of Shark.
Guys, listen, I need just a little more time. I'll have all your money.
You got 3 days.
Beth says Shark was working closely with an organization he referred to only as the Family.
Got it?
Was Mike dealing drugs for mobsters? If it's true, the well-mannered Southern gentleman could be in real trouble. To think, just 18 months earlier, Mike is walking on air after meeting Beth.
She was over the top, fun. It really resonated with him. He just was wowed by her personality, her looks.
When he brought her home, he was just beaming, you know. His whole personality changed.
Fiery Beth brings Mike out of his shell.
Since he was afraid to approach women, he probably didn't have a lot of experience with women either. She was his first big girlfriend. She was exciting. He won her over despite all the other guys trying to chase her.
The couple becomes inseparable.
You see Mike, you see Beth. You see Beth, you see Mike. They were together and they were happy and they were falling for each other.
You look great tonight, as always.
After a 5-month courtship, Mike takes Beth out for a romantic dinner. It's a scene straight out of a romance novel.
At the end of dinner and before dessert, he slid a jeweler box across the table to her. She opened it, she gasped, slid around toward him and kissed him. And he leaned back and said, "Does this mean yes?" Yes. And she said yes. And everyone there who had already been staring at them because they were so young and beautiful started applauding. Then Mike ordered a bottle of champagne.
Mike's friends are thrilled by the news.
Mike had always wanted to have someone that needed him and someone he could have a lasting relationship with. So I was very happy for him.
The bride-to-be is also ecstatic.
Beth was very excited about being engaged, and she liked to announce it to the world that she was getting married.
Mike really blossoms at Beth's side.
Mike and Beth both always seemed to be clinging to each other. They were always very happy, outgoing, always joking with each other.
When Mike graduates, he lands an accounting job with a photography shop and gets his own apartment. And Beth takes a job with a local car dealer.
They were very happy because they were on their own, together. That's what they wanted. They just wanted to be together.
That summer, they have the time of their lives.
On the weekends, they sat in the sun, they swam, they danced. They had friends over and partied.
It's the perfect, sweet Southern love story. But just 5 months after they wed, the groom is nowhere to be found. All that remains is an ominous trail of blood.
Try to remain calm.
Police determine the footprint is not Mike's. So whose is it?
3 days. Got it?
Investigators try to track down details on the mysterious crime syndicate Beth mentioned. But they can't find any information on the family. And 24 hours after the discovery in the foyer, there's still no sign of Mike. Then, a call comes in.
A body had been found over on the east side of town at a public golf course in a pond. While I did not know, I certainly had a strong feeling that this could be Mike Turpin.
the detective is right. The new groom is dead. And this is no accident. Mike suffered numerous stab wounds to the face and neck. Was it a drug hit by the family? Some sort of payback? Or is it something else entirely? To Detective Root, the manner of death seems eerily familiar.
I immediately thought of the serial slaying of at least 3 individuals from the 1970s that still remained unsolved.
Those original victims were also stabbed in the face and neck multiple times with intense rage. Has the unknown serial killer resurfaced to claim another victim?
I couldn't help but think, wow, what's the chances that we've had another one pop up?
Police have to look into the possibility, and they have to tell Mike's family and his new bride. The family comes together in shock to grieve.
Beth was not Beth. She was numb. I was numb. There were not words really spoken.
After all, what can you really say?
Losing a child is something that you really don't want to wish on anyone. It is the most heart-wrenching, nauseating feeling you can experience.
It's out of order. Life isn't supposed to go that way. You're supposed to have children and you get to be grandparents and all the goody little things, that go with it. And when you lose one, it cuts every single bit of that off. I mean, you've lost somebody out of order.
How could this have happened? And why? Gangs? Serial killers? With so many theories, police need to cut through false leads to make sense of it all. And the truth will stun everyone who loves newlyweds Mike and Beth. Just months after his wedding, newlywed Mike Turpin's body is found in a golf course pond. He's been stabbed to death. Police don't know if he was the victim of a gang called The Family, or a serial killer, or something else. His family is utterly stunned.
When you get the news that he in fact is dead, your whole life just kind of wilts away. You have raised this boy for 22 years, taught him to be a good boy, right from wrong. And to have to bury a child is just unfathomable, to anyone. You just feel like your whole sense of living has been taken away from you.
We just could not understand who would have done this to him and why they would have done it to him.
Mike and Beth had been so happy together. The summer after they get engaged, Mike buys a flashy red convertible. It's a modern-day carriage for a prince and princess.
So what do you want to do?
With the vibrant Beth at the helm, their passion is uncontrollable.
It was nonstop intensity. When they weren't out cruising in the car or by poolside, they were making love.
She was young and hot and sexy and using her sexuality.
And that just made their feelings of true passion and love stronger every day, leading up to their August wedding.
Unlike many brides-to-be, Beth actually leaves much of the wedding planning to her mother. She's too free-spirited to deal with the nitty-gritty details.
Mom, can I talk to you for 2 seconds? Sure.
Mike wants to kick off their marriage in a big way with a honeymoon in Hawaii. Problem is, he doesn't have the money. But it's not where you go, but who you're with, right?
If you are really in love and crazy about each other, you're not going to care if you're sitting on the back porch out here.
And these two are crazy about each other. On the big day, while Mike stands at the altar waiting for his beautiful bride, his close friend Dan has some playful words with him.
And I walked over to him real quick and I said, leave right here. We can escape if you want to. He said, nah, this is what I want to do.
So nervous.
Don't be nervous. You look beautiful, okay?
In the back of the church, Mike's cousin, Sherry, has a tender moment with Beth.
I gave her a big hug and told her I loved her. And I said, you better be good to him. And she said, I will.
Mike beams as his wife-to-be walks down the aisle. It's like a movie. Well, almost.
There were some stairs, and she got caught in her dress and stumbled on it, and then she said a cuss word under her breath.
Damn it.
And Mike had to grab her so she wouldn't completely fall down.
And the minister, who was my minister, very staunch Southern Baptist, face turned bright red.
The rest of the bridal party just giggles. That's just Beth being Beth.
Beth didn't really care what she said or who she said it to. She's just that outspoken and carefree, I guess.
You may kiss your bride.
The service is short and sweet. And then it's off to the reception at the fanciest hotel in town.
I said, Mike, your in-laws are really going overboard for this happening. And he says, oh yes, Beth is their only daughter and they wanted to really do it upright.
Everybody was happy and having fun and laughing and joking. And it was just a big party.
Although some guests do raise eyebrows at Beth's moves on the dance floor.
For the day and age, it was very suggestive. A lot of hip thrusting, backing up on people and stuff like that. You know, things you normally didn't see at that time.
Even at her own wedding, Beth was still using her sexuality. Didn't care who was looking. In fact, wanted more people to look because this is how she lives. She loves to get sexual attention.
Hawaii proves too expensive, so Mike and Beth honeymoon on Sanibel Island, off the Gulf Coast of Florida. But it doesn't go so well.
Mike called from Sanibel, and I asked him how it was going. He said fine, and then all I could hear was Beth swearing about how she hated the place, she didn't want to be there.
To make matters worse, Hurricane Elena blows in.
It was a foreboding, ominous forecast ahead, and so they had to cut their honeymoon short 4 days.
And, according to friends, within weeks of the honeymoon, Mike and Beth's wedded bliss reaches its expiration date.
When the bride's only 19 years old and wants to continue the typical lifestyle of a 19-year-old, things can get boring very quickly. It's not what she expected. She thought the party that was so wonderful in the summer of '85 was going to continue.
Beth fights her boredom by spending Mike's money. Lots of it.
Hey, baby.
At first, Mike goes along with it. He's a pleaser and wants to take care of his new bride.
Men love to feel needed. Mike wanted to feel needed. This is all very normal, to be able to step in as a provider, a protector, a lover. Whatever a woman needs makes a guy feel good when they can fulfill that.
Wow.
Looks good, right? There's a dress.
He was buying her all these lavish clothes, and then they up and bought a whole new complete apartment of new furniture.
Later.
But then the bills appear, and Mike realizes they are in a bind.
Starting off in debt is a very dangerous thing. Financial problems are one thing that breaks up couples all the time. He wants to keep this marriage together no matter what it takes, so put a lot of pressure and stress on him to be this big provider.
I don't need your permission to buy stuff with my money.
Beth. Really?
Backed into a corner, Mike becomes frantic. He can't turn to his family, and he desperately wants to keep Beth happy. Then he makes a fateful decision.
And that's when he starts taking money out of his work till. He had every intention of paying it back. He oversaw the books. He was the only one who was going to notice it.
When police learn of the theft, they have to wonder. Is that why Mike's future was cut short by the steely blade of a knife? Had he also stolen from the organized crime outfit called The Family Beth had mentioned? Lexington PD's narcotics and gang squads don't know the group. Are they so good they operate under the radar? One other lead they looked at, that it was a serial killer, is soon dismissed.
Once we started looking at that further, there was not enough similarity. The body dumping place, for one thing, was completely different.
So detectives turned their sights on those closest to Mike, including Beth.
Woke up like around.
To corroborate Beth's alibi that she was out with friends the night of the murder, detectives talked to her close friend, Karen Brown, at her car detailing job. She confirmed she was with Beth that night, all night.
She corroborated everything that Beth had had to say about their whereabouts, the time frame.
Karen also backs up the story about Mike's dark side.
She knew details of Mike's alleged drug dealing, his involvement with the family. She even gave us specific names of individuals that may have been involved.
And there's more.
Just how drunk did she get?
She added one new twist. She stated that Mike had assaulted Beth in the past, and that allegedly had had an affair with the boss's daughter.
What would her name be?
Could Mike's alleged infidelity be a motive for murder? Armed with this new information, detectives confront Beth. She admits she hadn't told them everything. She was too embarrassed to mention her husband's extramarital affair, but she denies there had been any abuse in the marriage.
She added that Mike had never beaten her, that they had had arguments. Mike would get loud, but he had never touched her.
She's still convinced her husband was murdered by the drug organization. But things just aren't adding up. Now, with allegations of affairs and abuse, police know there's more going on than what they were being told. And everything police think they know will soon be turned on its head. When new groom Mike Turpin is stabbed to death, police struggle to make sense of strange accusations of theft, drug dealing, abuse, and infidelity. When detectives question Mike's friends about his alleged dark past, they scoff at the idea.
The police asked me if Mike was part of some gang. I thought it sounded stupid, and I told them that.
Police can't find anything to support that the drug gang actually exists. Has Beth been lying to them? Detectives dig deeper into the couple's relationship. They discover that things weren't quite so peachy between Mike and Beth, even before the wedding. Some say at the rehearsal dinner, Wild Beth gets a little too wild.
She began drinking before the dinner started and was drunk afterward.
After the dinner, she goes clubbing with friends, without the groom.
Mike went on home. The last time he saw her, she was stumbling around the parking lot, holding one of her 4-inch heels in her hand.
Mike is sound asleep when Beth and her friends come home.
They got back to Mike's apartment, drunk and ready to party all night long. They woke Mike and he said, "If you don't calm down, I'm gonna go over to my mother's house."
Well, thank God, because I don't care. I'm gonna join my friends.
This 19-year-old plans on living her life just like she did before. It hasn't registered to her yet that she's a wife, she's married, she's still acting like a party girl.
But she is only 19 after all, a bubbly social butterfly. Who doesn't make mistakes at that age? Not long into the marriage, Beth is spending money like crazy. And to cover the cost, Mike takes more money from work. A little bit here, a little there. But he knows it's wrong and plans to pay it back before anyone notices. While Mike struggles with his deception, Beth is making her own questionable decisions at work. Police get an earful from her co-workers at a car dealership.
Beth had made her first car sale, and to celebrate, she went out with a couple male counterparts. They had drank heavily and used some drugs and returned to an apartment where apparently Beth had had sex with both of them.
The dealership is also where she meets her new friend, Karen Brown.
Hi, I'm Karen. Hi, I'm here.
They hit it off right away.
The first night that they actually socialized, Karen produced cocaine. Now, Beth had done cocaine before, but Karen had it and told Beth she could get it anytime she wanted. Well, that sealed the deal as far as them becoming friends.
When Beth and Karen hang out, it's one big party. And the cocaine budget grows and grows.
Mike was cracking apart over this. They were already financially distressed, and he was begging her to slow down.
What are you doing?
Nothing.
They had had several fights. He knew that he was going to have to take more money from his employer.
Beth starts leaving Mike behind for girls' nights out with Karen. One night, things take a bit of a turn.
On the way back from the bars where they had been dancing all evening, Beth said goodnight, and Karen said, "Let me walk you to your car." When they got to the car, Karen leaned in and kissed Beth on the mouth.
Beth was attracted to a woman because the woman was attracted to her. Beth seemed to have a kind of narcissistic personality disorder, and it didn't matter who loved her as long as people loved her. She just wanted attention.
Could infidelity have led to murder? Police learn that Mike does have a $60,000 life insurance policy. The sole beneficiary? Beth.
Upon learning of the life insurance, I certainly had to start looking more closely at Beth as a suspect.
Beth has a solid alibi for the night of the murder. But police now know that her alibi is her secret lover, Karen. And then a call comes in from Karen's roommates about Karen's car the day after the murder.
Karen's roommates got in her car, noticed a horrible, strong odor, and they asked Karen about it, and she said that someone had spilled grape juice in it and she had to clean it out with bleach.
The roommates also say Karen's friend and co-worker at the shop, Keith Bouchard, was acting weird the day after the murder. Really weird.
Those shoes I was wearing last night, I left them at your place, I left them in your room.
Keith Bouchard had made a phone call to the apartment asking them to throw away his tennis shoes, which were in Karen's bedroom.
Police had found bloody footprints in the couple's apartment.
One of the sets of prints were tennis shoes.
Were they Keith Bouchard's? Had Beth Turpin's friends, Karen and Keith, killed her new husband? And what, if anything, did Beth have to do with it? At Mike's funeral, she shows up in a questionable outfit. Not exactly widow wear.
It was really, I thought, very disrespectful to Mike and to me and to the entire family that she would come in looking like she did.
Okay, I'll talk to you guys later.
Her actions speak even louder.
She was laughing and cutting up.
I like your hair.
It was just basically a big social gathering for her.
Is it hot in here? Maybe a little. I shouldn't have worn long sleeves.
She thought it was a party. She made the remark, she wasn't a funeral type person.
And considering her lifestyle, it's starting to appear that she wasn't a marriage type person either.
It's really cute.
As police continue investigating the murder of newlywed groom Mike Turpin, more people come forward with wild stories about his wife Beth and her friend Karen Brown. Apparently, the two went public with their affair one night just before the murder.
Karen was the male lead in a drag act at a bar, and this particular night she was performing a Corey Hart song.
After the song, Karen collects tips from the audience.
Beth was waiting at the right hand of the stage, standing there with a $5 bill, and Karen came over, slipped the bill out of Beth's hand, and leaned over and gave her a big old juicy one. And it lasted for quite some time. And so the audience could clearly see, oh, this is Karen's woman. And there was applause and squeals of delight.
Police bring Karen Brown and her co-worker Keith Bouchard in for simultaneous questioning. Detectives tell Karen they have a search warrant for her car. Suddenly, she caves.
She blurted that Keith had done it. Keith had committed the murder. I was there. I tried to stop him, and she laid everything heavily on Keith Bouchard.
In the next interrogation room, Keith Bouchard has his own story to tell.
And he just speaks up to us, says, I suppose you want to go out to my trailer, don't you? And we go, why would we want to do that? And says, well, to get the knives.
He says Karen had been pestering him at the dealership for several weeks to kill Mike at Beth's request.
Karen told him that Mike was beating Beth, that they wanted to be together, they were in love.
And what's in it for him? A cut of the insurance money Beth has coming.
She would get $60,000 in life insurance, and they could give Keith $5,000 or $10,000.
I'll do it.
All right.
All right.
Beth's story about Mike dealing drugs for the family is a complete lie. Less than a week after Mike Turpin's murder, police arrest Karen Brown, Keith Bouchard, and the newlywed bride, Beth Turpin. Unlike the others, Beth claims she is innocent.
Beth's defense was portraying Karen as a jealous lesbian. This woman was in love with me. I did not reciprocate her feelings, and she and this guy went over and murdered my husband.
But prosecutors think otherwise.
Why would Karen and Keith want Michael Turpin dead? A guy that they hardly knew. Who gained anything by Michael Turpin's death? It was Beth Turpin, his wife.
At trial, the prosecutors present their case. After Beth's marriage to Mike, she becomes bored and begins cheating on him. With men, with women.
Beth knows how to use both her sexuality and her psychology to get people to make her happy and satisfy her needs.
Beth saw that she could use Karen's feelings toward her for whatever she wanted. Initially, it was cocaine. Then, when she wanted out of her marriage, she knew she could manipulate Karen to help that get done.
We gotta do that again sometime. That was so much fun. Hey, what's wrong? You guys have a good time?
Beth spins tales of Mike's cheating and abuse to gain sympathy. Karen believes her.
She was manipulating Karen into accomplishing her goals of killing her husband.
On the night of the murder, Beth says Mike will punish her severely for going out. Karen tells Keith it's time for them to put an end to the alleged abuse.
Keith was just their tool, and he was the easiest of all to manipulate. All they had to do was put that thought in his head. Mike's hurting Beth. She needs protection. He's going to kill her tonight.
Yeah.
The second they saw how he responded to Mike's beating Beth, they knew they had him. I mean, he was like someone ready to get a knife and kill someone.
Beth sends them off to do the dirty work, while she waits at Karen's apartment to establish her alibi.
By not being there at the murder itself, Beth felt that she could easily prove her innocence.
When Beth's friends knock on the newlyweds' apartment door, Mike has no reason to suspect anything.
Is Beth here? One thing you can say about Beth is she embodied some kind of magic, some kind of way to lure people in and get them to bid her will. And she didn't care what happened to them.
The knife attack is relentless. They wrap Mike's body in some blankets and lay him in the back seat of Karen's car. Then dump him in the golf course pond. Beth tells the jury her side of the story.
She said that she was only joking, that she had made jokes several times about wishing that Mike was dead, but she didn't really mean it.
But her high school diary tells a different story.
I see power, wealth, and death in my pools of green eyes. I use people for the furtherance of my own being. I feel no guilt or remorse, no matter how devious my means are.
And I think, in all honesty, that says everything there is to say about her.
The jury agrees. They convict both Beth Turpin and Karen Brown of capital murder and sentence each to life in prison. Keith Bouchard pleads guilty and also gets life. Over 25 years later, Beth still denies responsibility.
She's never come out and said that she was involved in his killing. That's the one thing I can't get over, is that she will not take responsibility for her actions, and she can rot in hell.
All Mike wanted was love and to make Beth's life better.
Gosh, it's so beautiful.
I think Mike saw something in Beth that he hoped to help her with. I think Mike was kind of a rescuer of sorts. He had such a good heart.
Unfortunately, Mike Turpin met and fell in love with exactly the wrong girl, and she took him away from those who truly loved him.
It doesn't ever get any better. You just learn to live with it.